Hey everyone, and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today's topic has slightly changed. Initially it was going to be about why I'm worried about Weekly, but luckily with the delay of this video, IST have officially announced their comeback in July. I thought at first it would be cool to look into the different issues impacting them. However, it seems like I'm also not the only one who's felt this, as I've seen many variations to this video idea to the point where I don't think I can really add too much to it. As a result, I have pivoted into looking into the comparison of Weekly and STAYC, who both had notable viral songs popping off at the same time. Their follow-up comebacks would then try to replicate the sound before making another comeback, but this time switching it up. Similar trajectories, but different reception. And so the plan is to look into each of the eras to see the distinguishing factors that try to explain a bit more about the different reception. But yeah, before I start, I'd appreciate it if you can like and subscribe to my channel. Without further ado, let's start off with the first era. Starting off with the viral hits that garnered both groups the most attention. Although this could be a praise fest about how these songs laid the foundation for their initial attention, there were still differences to the realities of each group. I mean, starting off, a key major difference between the two is that ASAP was STAYC's first comeback, which already sounded different from their debut. This established the fact that STAYC had no definitive sound that listeners should be expecting. This would also bring in more attention for STAYC, as the contrast between the two releases meant it would relatively appeal to a different listener. This doesn't necessarily account for the loss in interest from those who were committed to their debut sound. However, in hindsight, the loss was minimal in comparison to the virality and general acceptance of ASAP. In comparison, After School was nothing inherently different from the existing concept that had been built within Weekly. The only difference was the song had a bit more edge that subjectively made the song more popular compared to the other previous releases. As a result, the existing concept wasn't necessarily the reason for the increased attention in comparison to the actual song that was merely selected as their title track. As well as that, ASAP would also have a greater universal reception in comparison to After School, which would do better internationally for the most part. Both charting peaks and album sales would show the contrasting domestic impact between STAYC and Weekly. In terms of charting within the Gaon digital charts, STAYC would peak within the top 10, while Weekly wouldn't be able to crack the top 150. As for album sales, STAYC would almost double their album sales with an increase from 56k total monthly album sales to a total of 106k sold as of 2024. For Weekly, we would also see a similar impact from the virality, however, at a smaller increase of 25k within its first month to 42k album sales as of 2024. As a result, despite the relatively similar virality that was felt from the songs, there was clear differences in their foundational success, as audience conversions indicated STAYC created more of an appeal. The next releases would be their attempt to replicate the previous virality by releasing songs that were in the same realm as what got them popular. This is also where the notable separation would occur in grouping these two groups as similar-ish, as Weekly would relatively lose momentum from releasing Holiday Party, while STAYC would solidify their success with Stereotype. Despite commercially performing slightly better than After School, Holiday Party would lack the equivalent impact of hearing it and getting it. On an individual basis as a song, there is nothing bad about the song and is even seen by Weekly fans as another decent release. Not necessarily the best, but enough to where its existence is recognized. However, for casual fans and general listeners, the song felt like just another teen crush song. The song kinda stripped the key elements that appealed viewers to After School and didn't build upon much. I mean, one slight personal gripe that is related to Weekly losing what distinguished them, but also doesn't necessarily relate to this discussion, is the departure of props. Low-key, that was a major reason that made me hooked into the group, and so to see them gradually put less attention on using props was an unfortunate thing for me. But yeah, another thing that I also noticed while retrospectively looking back at these songs was that between the 6 songs, the most impactful songs from each group seemed to be After School and Stereotype, which incorporated elements of nostalgia within the concept. Not sure how strong of a point this is, but STAYC variating their virality of ASAP through to Stereotype while using the right elements to distinguish itself subjectively appeared more to a general audience. As a result, this further helped STAYC solidify themselves as they continued to build on their success, whereas Weekly would take 2 steps forward from After School, but then 1 step back because of Holiday Party. So to you. So to you. And the final error analysis for both groups would be the switch up in concepts and sounds that would also see two varying reactions. Despite the difference in concept from Stereotype to Run to You, STAYC would actually thrive more as the concept was not too drastic of a change. Run to You conceptually had similarities to their debut of So Bad, but with the futuristic sound that made it still distinct. As a result, this transition was seen as more comprehensible. In comparison, Weekly suffered from a negative reception from the change to Vampira. Vampira is by no means an unlistenable song, but it is also not the type of song that garnered them a loyal following in the first place. Weekly had kind of pigeonholed themselves through their 4 releases before Vampira, which all fit in the same realm of conceptual theming and thus an assumed established identity. As a result of this reinforcement of this one concept, the concept change would feel more jarring. There was no lead up to the changes that would give an inkling of this concept change. After School would end the trilogy of We Blank albums that Weekly was doing, and thus if they were to change things up, it should have been during Holiday Party, as they introduced the play game eras. As well as that, the celestial aspects to the concept didn't necessarily require them to instantly go Girl Crush. If they wanted to go Girl Crush sounding, they could have experimented with some dark academia concept, with Crush being a good example of bright sounding with darker aesthetics. Overall, STAYC would continue to cement their success while still not completely being tied down to one concept. Weekly, on the other hand, would continue to drop the ball, as despite the commercial success of Vampira, the general attention on them was slowly starting to fade. And finally, the small section would just be other miscellaneous factors that have kinda contributed to the difference in trajectories, but also kinda don't have too much substance to it, or maybe they do. I mean, starting off, the discrepancy between the reception and commercial performance of Vampira highlights the subjectivity of K-pop opinions and reactions. There was a subjective opinion felt by the general public that members did not suit Vampira as a concept. Whether this was an unconscious bias of only seeing the same high teen crush from them, it basically was too many changes for people to digest. However, a negative reception should also usually lead to a decrease in commercial performance. This Girl Crush concept of Vampira instead reinforced even the most basic of Girl Crush will have a better general reception in comparison to a more brighter concept, and thus potentially justifying the need to switch it up. I mean, Weekly had 2 other title tracks before After School with the same concept, and they did not receive the same attention as After School. So this may have played a factor into the concept change too. Obviously, like I said before, it could have been too drastic of a change, but even Run to You did pretty well in comparison to the other previous releases for STAYC, and thus just highlights the relatively nicheness of sticking to constantly such a bright concept and sound. As well as that, this might be me being a little delusional, but I also feel like STAYC being the first proper K-pop group within their company meant that High Up Entertainment was going a bit all in for them. Not that IST Entertainment weren't doing anything, but from a subjective overview into both careers, STAYC have been able to market themselves beyond just another girl group, and thus there is more of an identity for them. Weekly, on the other hand, started strong with such a distinct concept, but haven't really built on it to know much about them as a group or even the individual members. Ultimately, despite the feeling that Weekly and STAYC were low-key riding the same wave of success, there were actually notable differences in hindsight that explains the current standings of the two groups. Final thoughts. This comparison between both STAYC and Weekly is not supposed to diminish the success of Weekly by saying that STAYC was doing better during these eras. I mean, with STAYC continuing to solidify their domestic success, and with Weekly still pulling in a decent amount of attention with Vroom Vroom despite the long hiatus, they are both in decent positions on an overall basis of competition within the K-pop industry. Both do have their own separate issues ranging in criticalness, but it's also one of those things where they're not completely alarming at the moment. The great thing is that both of them have upcoming comebacks happening within the month of this video release, as we anticipate for STAYC's first full album on the 1st of July and Weekly's comeback on the 9th of July, which hopefully is also a sign of consistent releases again. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts on the certain eras of 2021 to 2022 for both Weekly and STAYC. Your thoughts on the career trajectories and the differences despite having such a similar release track strategy, and any other groups you feel like had similar career trajectories in some ways, and whether you can see the differences in hindsight. My next video will probably focus on a similar idea of comparison between two similar things, being that of Kiss of Life's Natty's debut as a soloist under Swing Entertainment to her solo release under S2 Entertainment, and just the rebranding differences that also explains the difference in reception. But yeah, if you're interested to hear more, then please like and subscribe to keep up to date, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!